After reaching a consensus, Nar spoke in a quiet whisper that pierced the still air. The human menace must be neutralized before it becomes unmanageable. The council members, an assembly of armored, gelatinous, multi-limbed kitten creatures, nodded solemnly. Despite all logic, humanity was a blight, an unpredictable oddity that had survived, flourished, and now dared to evolve. A species that defied convention beyond its inconsequential blue rock. What was once dismissed as an annoying spherical automaton had become something far more dangerous. A holographic dossier flickered to life, projected ahead. The target's image appeared briefly on screen, a 12-year-old human child with short brown hair, a playful smile, and bright, defiant eyes. Future warlord, the report read. Nar's nostrils flared. It is likely he will command Earth's troops in 20 years. Humanity will falter before it rises if we eliminate him now. No one in the chamber opposed it. Their cold calculations and probability models had allowed their species to flourish for millennia. Logic dictated the selection of any youngster who demonstrated exceptional intelligence, especially one with an unnaturally high capacity for problem-solving. Preventative measures were not cruel, they were necessary. A shadow emerged. The leader of the Void Talons, clad in black, stepped through the chamber's lofty entryway. The council's top assassins followed. The assassin's voice, genderless and modulated, crackled with hatred. The boy will die before the next Earth cycle. No one challenged them. It was just after midnight in a quiet suburb outside Denver, Colorado. The Bell residence was modest, a single-story home with a neat yard, a porch, and an old basketball hoop rusting in the driveway. Inside, David Bell Jr. sat hunched over a laptop, his headphones covering his ears as he led his virtual forces in a real-time tactical battle. Beside him, a half-eaten bag of Doritos and an untouched glass of milk, his mother's attempt to sneak some nutrition into his diet. His fingers moved swiftly across the keyboard, every command precise. His teachers called him gifted, though they whispered it with equal parts awe and concern. Outside, the street light flickered twice and died. David scowled. His fingers paused for just a moment. The game froze. Groaning, he pulled off his headset and tapped the keyboard. The house went dark. The sound of footsteps on gravel was too deliberate, too precise. Shadows moved across the hallway. The back door hissed as it disengaged. David didn't think he felt. Years of instinct, action movies with his dad, one rule: never trust the shadows. He dove under the bed, heart pounding, hand covering his mouth to silence his breath. 3 figures entered. The air shifted. Their armor absorbed light rather than reflected it. Their leader moved with terrifying grace, like something imitating humanity badly. The scanner activated, red light swept the room. Ping, David was found. A gloved hand clamped around his ankle. He kicked wildly. His foot struck the assassin's wrist, and for a brief moment the air flared with surprise, but it wasn't enough. A needle pricked his neck. Sting, dizziness, darkness. Above Earth, the Galactic Council's flagship lingered in the void. Inside, the Void Talon stood in a sleek obsidian hall. David Bell Jr. lay unconscious but alive. The Council's holographic display flared to life. Nar's expression remained unreadable as the assassin confirmed the boy's capture. "Kill him in public," Nar said. "Let them all see what becomes of defiance." The command was given. They dropped the field. David hit the cold metal floor. A thin ceremonial sword was drawn. David's eyes snapped open. It wasn't cinematic. There was no swelling music, no prophecy, no screaming, just confusion. He blinked at the aliens around him, then he yawned. "Could have waited till I finish my game," he mumbled, rubbing his neck. The assassin stiffened. He wasn't crying, wasn't begging, he was annoyed. The leader of the Void Talons stepped forward. "You do not need to be afraid." "I'm not, just irritated. They weren't built for this." Nar watched, growing furious. The assassin raised the blade for a clean strike, and David bit him hard. The assassin screamed and recoiled. "Did he just bite me?" David spat, gagging. "Tastes like burnt rubber." They restrained him with protocol-grade cuffs. A drone moved forward, its lens focusing on David's face. This execution would be broadcast across the stars, a warning to any who dared challenge the council. David inhaled deeply. He looked straight into the camera. "My dad is going to kill all of you." Then the sword came down. Far beneath Earth's most secret military installation, an officer sprinted into the command center. Admiral Jonathan Bell stood at the center of the room, unmoving. The officer gulped. "Sir, your son is on every screen." Silence, Jonathan's fists clenched, blood pulled from his palms where nails dug deep. Then, in a quiet, calm voice, send the message. The room exploded into action. War alarms sounded. Earth had been provoked. Humanity would respond with fire. The execution chamber was silent. The council had expected fear, subjugation, submission, but there was only stillness. No tears, no begging, just silence. Then every channel on the council's core worlds was hijacked. The signal was distorted at first, then clear. A single image, an older man, tall and statuesque in a dark military uniform. The insignia on his chest gleamed. Admiral Jonathan Bell. His voice was even, his face unreadable. He leaned toward the camera. Council, breathe, take a moment. Something in his tone chilled the room. He wasn't angry, wasn't shouting, wasn't even passionate, just calm, unbreakable, unforgiving, undeniable. This is war. The broadcast ended, panic followed. Nar, watching the transmission, dismissed it. Their fleet is scattered, their ships are repurposed husks. Let them come. But a shaking voice broke the silence. An analyst pushed a trembling claw to the console. Thousands of glowing data points swirled into a single image. They were already en route, not dozens, thousands of ships. And Earth's response, it had already launched. News from Zero Prime, the beating heart of the Council, arrived first. Silence again, not the quiet of peace, the silence before a storm that would burn across the stars. They mentioned how warriors would charge into combat with tunes from their native world's primitive era blasting in their ears, names such as Black Sabbath, one squadron of human pilots, Metallica and AC/DC. Before unleashing a weapon, the fleet had been heard yelling lines from an old Earth movie while confronting an opponent, a maneuver so rash that it went against all military reasoning. And it was successful. They had seen the devastation with icy, unblinking focus. A lifetime of power, he turned to his war council when his confidence was shattered in a matter of days. Suddenly, they were a group of trembling, dejected individuals, their self-esteem destroyed like sand under a flood. Finally, a diplomat, one who had previously mocked humanity's clumsy diplomacy, spoke up. They won't stop until we're all gone. Even though they knew it was a broadcast, the words were hollow. A long, grudging sigh filled Nar's lungs. The request, which was of human origin, indicated that the communication should be acknowledged, and Admiral Bell appeared on the screen. He stood amid the remains of the outpost. Smoke curled behind him where once the Council's main command stood. His eyes met theirs, the metal of his uniform reflecting the light of far-off fires. No words were exchanged for a long time. Then Bell raised something into view, a ripped, shredded soot and blood-stained Galactic Council flag. He stomped on it, dropped it, and at last he spoke. This is only the start. Nar's hands trembled. When the communication ended, he had no more orders to declare war. This was not a battle between civilizations, it was a reckoning, and humanity was the galactic storm. The Council refused to give up, at least not in response to Earth's war course. They had been motivated by pride for eons, and pride prevented a species so old from yielding to one so young. They had governed the stars with ice, with law, but their laws were as chaotic as humanity was in breaking them, absolute dominion without hesitation. Even as their fleets were burning, they persuaded themselves it was a brief setback. When castles collapsed, when colonies fell one by one, High Chancellor, they said, the humans have to break until they're only flesh and bones. Nar had never experienced desperation before, but now he recognized it. He saw it in the once dominant. He observed real-time updates of the strategic reports projected across the hallways of the Galactic Council chamber. It showed that Earth's forces were not the only threat. It was their flexibility, their blatant disrespect for traditional warfare that had overtaken them. There were no systematic formations. Everyone battled as individuals. They fought with machine-like precision, but they were unpredictable. The Council had always believed there were laws for war. Humanity disagreed, and on their first attempt, they cornered the galaxy, bold, desperate, and doomed from the beginning. The remaining Council ships, those that hadn't been destroyed in the initial wave of human vengeance, gathered close to the industrial planet of Zeo-5, a fortress. Their plan: entice the humans to the world that had birthed the Council's shipbuilding empire. Wait, encircle, crush. But they had erred. The humans didn't arrive in a single unified fleet. They came like wild.